Welcome to From Betrayal to Breakthrough. I'm Dr. Debi Silber, and today we have Suzanne Borelli. Suzanne is a born and raised Long Island, New York girl. She is like all of us, caring for family, making her house a cozy home, and working full-time. Currently at 48 years old, Suzanne feels the best she has ever felt in her life, which includes the financial, mental, physical, and spiritual ends. Although her journey throughout the past 40 years was not always easy, pleasant, or smooth, a negative self-esteem often affected so many areas of her life and seemed to be the issue lurking behind some of her poor decisions. On top of that, a devastating betrayal occurred when both of her children were very young, and that was the catalyst for Suzanne turning her life around once and for all. Her wisdom has taught her that she counts just as much as everyone else, and she's learned to put herself on the list. Self-care has become a priority for Suzanne, and that has enabled her to morph from a feeling of sorrow into sunshine. You're going to love Suzanne. She is such a bright light. She was instrumental in the 3 discoveries I talk about because she was one of the Fab 14, one of the participants in my Ph.D. study on how women experience betrayal. I can't wait for you to meet her. Here's Suzanne. I am so excited to have Suzanne Borelli here. I mean, we have all kinds of amazing guests and thought leaders. Suzanne is so special for so many reasons. One of the reasons is, and I speak about the study that was done. Well, Suzanne was one of the participants in the study. So we have so much to cover. Welcome, Suzanne.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Looking forward to it.
I really appreciate you. So, I lovingly call the group the Fab 14 because it was these 14 amazing women that contributed for their own reasons. Everybody had their own reason about why they wanted to participate in this study, but because of their participation, we made 3 discoveries. So before we even get into that, Suzanne, why did you want to get involved with it?
I guess from coming from a really bad betrayal situation, I struggled to find folks, other women to connect with. I felt very, very much alone. And when I realized that there were so many other women dealing with betrayal, and I was asked to maybe be a part of the group or offer my experience, I kind of thought I had to pay it forward. If I could be of service and if I could help other women with the same struggle, I really wanted to be a part of that. So that's why I got involved.
It was wonderful. And because of that, and I remember the moment that it happened. I mean, here it was, these incredible conversations. And Suzanne, I remember our conversation. It was like every one of them, when you have an opportunity to do a study, you can do what's called a quantitative study where you're asking a lot of people for information, or a qualitative study, which is a deeper dive, smaller group. And I really wanted to know the lived experience. And I remember our conversation and just the physical, mental, and emotional, everything that you went through. And I want to get to it, but I have to share that because of your contribution and the others, like I said, there were 3 discoveries. The first, that, we can stay stuck for years, decades, a lifetime, but if we're going to transform, we're going to go through these 5 stages. The development, the discovery of something called post-betrayal transformation and post-betrayal syndrome, that we can have this collection of symptoms so common to betrayal. It's become known as post-betrayal syndrome. And I know you had a lot of those symptoms. So you know what? Why don't you just walk us through, just give us a summary kind of your story, how you felt, and we'll talk about how you moved through it.
Sure. I had, I guess you would say, a marital betrayal. It was just a relationship that wasn't working out. And my ex-husband at the time, decided to proceed forward with another relationship, unbeknownst to me. And I had 2 very, very small children. And it was just, and I was still very much in love with him. And it was just a betrayal that it was unbearable at the time. And I found that I couldn't sleep. I couldn't concentrate. I was in a fog. I smoked like 2 packs of cigarettes a day. I just had this constant feel of more or less dread and despair. And it was a really, really difficult time for me. And I never thought anything would ever get better. And it was just a bad time in my life.
And then, yeah, go ahead.
It affected me on every level. It affected me emotionally, physically, spiritually, financially. I mean, you covered the gap. It covered every single aspect of my life. So it was a big struggle.
Yeah. And then when you started your journey to healing, walk us through that. Tell us how you did it. What was the first step you did,
Sure.
and what did it lead to?
So, I realized that nobody else was going to make the situation better for me but myself. And I'm blessed that I have a very supportive family. I have supportive friends. But I realized at the end of the day, when I put my pillow on my head on the pillow, I realized that nobody else was going to make it better but me. And I guess my 2 children at the time, they were very, very small, and they were a blessing because I realized I had to be my best self for them. Mm-hmm. And I realized that I needed to start with, even if they were little micro steps every single day, in making my situation better. And
I'm going to stop you, and I'm going to stop you there because with so many people, those micro steps feel so gigantic, and we can call them micro steps, right? But I'm sure at the time when you look back, they didn't feel micro at all.
No, that is correct.
Yeah, and also, with so many women, it's so hard to find the incentive to move forward, and there's something about if the incentive wasn't there just for your own personal self, having to do this for your kids' sake is the pull and the incentive you needed. Maybe even just to get out of bed, and try again.
True. Right. Very, very true. And I realized that I was, for my betrayal, it had to do with someone I was married to at the time. I realized that I was so focused on him. What's he doing? This is not fair. Why did this happen? And I thought, I could focus on this all I want, but I'm not going to be able to change any of that. So let me go inside and work on myself. And that was pivotal for me. It really was pivotal. And I started, maybe taking a walk in the morning, getting some fresh air. I joined a local mothers group that there was some support. It didn't necessarily focus on betrayal, but it was connecting and getting out and taking those little steps, yet they were big steps. Mm-hmm. To move forward and rebuild my life. And that's what I did. And that's what I did. It wasn't easy. It was hard. And sometimes I had to allow myself to be in vulnerable new situations to put myself out there. But I realized that the pain was of staying where I was stuck. That pain was much stronger than any other pain of trying to experience something new. Yeah. So that's kind of how I rebuilt my foundation.
And you know what, though, Suzanne, for a lot of women listening, it's that pain of just staying stuck. It's so big, and they don't know how to move past that. And that was something that I remembered from you. I mean, really, it seemed like from early on, even though you may not look at it like that, it was like this warrior where you're like, no, I have to do that.
Yes.
Right? So share with everybody when you were on the fence about, should I go to that mom's group? I just feel awful, or should I, stop smoking, whatever it was. What was it that got you over the fence of, I really don't want to do it, but I know I need to?
I just felt like I hit a brick wall. I felt like nothing else was going to get better. Nobody else was going to do it except me. And I just had to put on my big girl pants, if you will, and just get up and go. And I guess also I realized what I was doing was not working. Mm-hmm. It wasn't bringing me to a better place. So, and it wasn't like I just woke up one day and realized. I think it was a little slow process that I just realized that. And I said to myself, once again, just take a different step today, a different approach, and let's see how it goes.
And you know what, though?
That's what worked.
Yeah. And I think a key to all of that is awareness too. You know, what so often, and what I saw in the study was the women who numbed, distracted, avoided facing the pain really were the ones who grew the least. And it was the ones, hands down, every single time, who faced it, who were aware, who really wanted to move forward. Those were the ones that healed. And I hope everybody listening is really understanding. Here, Suzanne was really noting her daily actions and saying, okay, that didn't work. Let me try something else. And it's something as, it seems simple, but it's not, but something as simple, let's just say, as that awareness where you're questioning what you've been doing in order to course correct, you know, and say, okay, I remember hearing this amazing quote, you can't steer a parked car, you know, and right? Isn't that great? And it's like, here you are taking these daily steps and adjusting and adapting based on if they work for you or not. So, you know, you talk about putting yourself back on the list. What do you mean by that?
I feel that even the women that I know and I'm friendly with, especially as women or as mothers, we're caretakers, and we put our spouses, our partners, our children, it seems like everybody else comes first and our needs come last. And I guess part of me realizing was that I count just as much as my children do and anyone else in my family does. So if that means that I am going to go out with girlfriends for dinner, you know, for an hour or two, I'm doing it. If I want to go to a yoga class, I'm going to do that. If I want to not do the laundry and sit in bed with, you know, tea and some cookies and read a book, I'm going to do it. So I've learned that all those things make me feel better about myself and make me a better person. And therefore, I can give more to the people that I love. Yeah. So, you know, I've talked with friends that disagree with that, and we agree to disagree, but that really has helped propel me forward. And my children are now teenagers. I have one that's driving already, and they know, oh, okay, Mom, yes, we know you need your hour or two. You're going to go take care of something for yourself. I always take care of them, but I realize I count as much, and I put myself on the list every single day.
That's so wonderful.
It's worked well for me.
Yeah, and a couple of things here that you brought up. First of all, why is it that so many moms try to make other moms feel guilty for putting themselves on the list, right? Where somehow we're better off if we're completely depleted and spent and a martyr and a victim. You know, so it is one approach, and certainly, you know, I'm not I guess the part I'm judging is stop judging. You know, what's working for one, if it's working for that mom, every mom knows what's best for her and her family, hands down. That's just the way it is. You know, it's interesting because that's always, I think we're conditioned to put ourselves last, and we have to move through and work through all of this guilt in something as simple as self-care. You know, that really shouldn't be. I mean, just because you're taking care of yourself, you're better for all within your care and reach. So how did you, so you actually had friends who gave you a hard time about taking time for yourself?
Yeah, they did. they were just like, geez, you know, you go to an hour and a half yoga class, or, you know, they'd always, I like to bake cookies. It's just like mindless, you know, little things like that, not doing the laundry or just doing simple, silly things. Yeah, I do. And we've been friends since high school, and we just have different points of view. And, like I said, we agree to disagree. And, I feel like I'm doing a disservice to those that I love if I don't put myself on the list. I feel like my loved ones get a better version of me, if you will, if I have self-care every day. And like you said, that's just what works for me. You know, I hardly ever get sick. I don't cancel on commitments I make. I'm, as you said, the word warrior. I'm always ready to go. And I believe it's because I give back to my soul and to my body, and I get things done.
Yeah. And you know, when
it works for me.
Yeah. And when I've known you for a while, and there are some people, it's like they're sort of living at a 50% level. Whenever I see you just have this energy of just, it's this radiant light, and someone who is just,
thank you.
Of just fueled and filled with love and energy and radiance. And I guess that could really only be because you're taking care of yourself. And in doing that, you have what to give, and then you're giving love, getting love. I mean, it's a beautiful way to be. So what are some things that you learn not to do? Like what, because your experience, that's what happens with betrayal. We create a new set of rules. So what are things now that, let's say, the old you did that this new empowered version of you just doesn't do?
Right. Well, I mentioned is that I'm not preoccupied with anyone else. I focus on myself and what's best for me. So that's really important. I've realized that the whole betrayal issue and more or less, I guess, the spiraling of my life, I realized that it was a chapter in my life. I realized that it doesn't define me. It's not going to create maybe the next 40 to 50 next years of my life. I'm 48 years old. This happened many, many years ago, and I've worked every day at it to be in a better place. But I've realized that I don't want to feel like I'm the victim. I am going forward, and I just keep looking at it. Okay, this was a chapter. I wish it had not happened, but I don't focus, as you even said, the martyr, the victim, and I focus on myself, and I move forward. That's been pivotal for me.
Yeah.
Not get stuck with that.
Right. And when you were healing, like over that period of time, how long would you say it took to really feel better?
That's a good question. I would say that it's certainly a process. It took me a while. I can't give you exactly, was it, a month, 6 months? It was a slow, I think, a rebirthing of every season. It went by seasons. I kind of just felt better season by season. But that didn't come at me sitting on the couch and not doing anything. That came as a result of me doing work, getting out there, involving myself and working on myself, rebuilding my life. Because I believe when you have a betrayal, especially in a marriage or a committed relationship, we define ourselves a lot by that. And when that crumbles, it's recreating a new life. So I realized that I needed to focus on rebuilding myself. I'm not sure if I answered that question as you asked. But,
no, and that's what I found in the study too. It was based on so many different things. It was based on the level of support that we had. It was based on what we were willing or unwilling to do. I mean, it was really based on so many different things. I mean, now the beauty of the study is we know what happens at every stage and what it takes to move from one to the next. But without that knowledge, it's sort of like, okay, let's try this and see, or let's try this and see. And were there certain things that really worked for you to move you forward that you remember?
Sometimes I had to force myself to think positive. Sometimes I would wake up and I'd be miserable. I really would. And I would say, okay, that didn't work for me yesterday. I was miserable yesterday too. I had to kind of fake it till I make it. And I remember even one day, I had 2 little kids at home. They were like babies. And it was winter, and, it was like maybe the 3rd or 4th day or the 5th day of being in sweatpants. And I got them situated with a video, and I went and I took a shower, and I did my hair, I did my makeup, I put on a nice outfit. I mean, it was so ridiculous at the time, thinking, but it made me feel really good, and it changed my thought or perspective for the day. So I tried to focus on, trying to look at the positive, even though it was awful. I'm like, okay, what could I be thankful for in this, time and moment? And one thing, if I just could share, is that, the financial aspect was very much a struggle too, for my particular betrayal. And I also worked at that as well. We all get into our struggles with that, or can get into our struggles with that. And I didn't want that because that physically affects you, the stress of that too. And I was very mindful of, okay, this has happened. How can I conquer this? Or how can I work with this? Is it day by day, week by week? I got some, professional guidance and opinion, and I worked at it, and it made me feel better.
And what about
sometimes even getting?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, sometimes even getting dressed, if you will, I would have my kids in tow with me and going to speak to someone, professionally about, okay, what do I do financially for this? How do I set myself up in a better place going forward? It was just all those little different things, but they were big things.
Yeah, I was going to say, not little at all, and very proactive. So here you are, you're taking these steps, and you were changing mentally, emotionally, physically too. What did you notice physically? What physical changes did you start to see?
I noticed I started sleeping better. I noticed my anxiety, it really just didn't seem to be there as much as it was. It started to slowly subside. I noticed that my stomach didn't always bother me. And it wasn't like I just woke up one day and it was all these things, but I slowly noticed over time, it seemed like my hair was getting healthier, my skin was getting healthier. I started eating better. When you're in that state of stress, it was just grab and go whatever's there. And I really started to be mindful of, okay, wait a second, I count. So I'm going to take the time to go food shopping and prepare things that are healthy. I just noticed it seemed like my eyes got brighter. They were subtle things, but when you put them all together, it really makes a big, big difference. And I didn't have that constant headache, I think, from the stress, because I started feeling better.
And it makes so much sense, because when I look at the 5 stages that you and the Fab 14 identified, when you're in that state of survival, you're not thinking about eating healthy and taking care of yourself. You don't have the bandwidth for it. I mean, you just don't have it. But when you get to that stage 5, healing, rebirth, and a new worldview, when you're feeling better, you have the bandwidth for your own self-care. You feel that you deserve nurturing and self-care and self-love. You're more willing to take care of yourself then. And it sounds like that's exactly what happened. You started feeling better. But it was very conscious with you. You started putting yourself in this better place and wanting to take better care of yourself. And it just kept growing and growing. So what does the future look like for you?
Oh, well, I'm not ashamed to say it. I'm 48 years old, and I tell everybody. And I had to say, I love my 40s. I'm looking forward to my 50s. I feel like there's just so many opportunities for me, in terms of work, in terms of doing things with other women, trying to be support for other women, with my kids. I feel like I'm so blessed, and I have so many wonderful things ahead of me to do in life. I don't know exactly what they are, but I feel like my future's really bright. And I feel like this experience has kind of woken me up, if you will. I kind of feel like I've walked through half of my life unconscious and numb. And I feel like part of this experience has rebirthed me or woken me up. And I just feel really happy and lucky. And, of course, there's days that it's like, ugh. But I feel like I'm in a really, really good position in life.
Yeah. And well, first of all, I'll tell you, I'm in my 50s and it's so fun. It's like you've earned the right not to care, about what people are saying and all those things you worried about in high school. You just don't have to deal with that anymore. But it's here's where, and again, I hope everybody listening is hearing this. Your biggest crisis can absolutely reveal your greatest gift. The hardest things in life that we do everything humanly possible to avoid, when you go through them, that's transformation. You're hearing Suzanne. She is transformed. I mean, clearly she's been there and back with her experience, but here's somebody saying, I'm grateful, I'm appreciative, I'm happy. So that's what happens when you do the work. And I have to say, I am so thrilled because, one of the things that has also emerged because of this study is the idea that every woman in the study said she would have benefited from support, not from, not to sit and commiserate, but for women who get it. And so, we have these certifications to be certified PBT, post-betrayal transformation support group hosts, and Suzanne is one of them. So I am just so excited. So tell us about your group. Tell us about where it is or what you're up to and what you hope to teach in your group and support. Go ahead.
Sure. So I live in Blue Point, New York, and I'm trying to get a group of women together that could, an evening group. I'm open to ideas, suggestions where women could just come together and share their experiences. And like you said, not commiserate, but just share and be a support for each other. And our group is in its infantile stage. So whether we move the group to a different location, different times, I'm certainly open to that. But it's something that I would like to give back to other women as a result of my experience. I would like to, and that's why I went through the certification with you, Debi, because I understand, I could relate. Maybe our betrayal is different, but at the core, betrayal is betrayal. And it basically is, how do you move forward? How do you rebuild? And how do you go out in the world and be the best that you can? Mm-hmm. So that's the hopes for my group that I'd like to put together.
Beautiful. And what do you want the listeners to know? Just so they feel better. What should they hear? What do you want them to know?
Here. Do something for yourself every single day that just makes you feel better. And for everyone, that's different. Something that's healthy, something that will put you in the right frame of mind. And just remember, you count, and put yourself on the list, and just do whatever it is that can help you be your best and feel your best, because you're worth it. We're all worth it, regardless of what has transpired.
Mm-hmm. What a wonderful way to end. I think that says it. Suzanne, thank you so much. I know you helped so many listeners today. If seriously, even something as it just slipped right by you, but something as like doing something every day, like something like that. If someone just hears that and takes that and runs with it, what a gift. What a gift. That may be just the tip, the tool they needed to get them out of bed, or something as simple as being aware. Just be aware of what am I doing? Is it working? Is it not? And in order to change it. So I know you shed such a bright light on this topic, and I just thank you for your time.
Oh, sure. Thank you. It was a pleasure to do this.
Isn't Suzanne great? She's the perfect example of overcoming adversity and an example of post-betrayal transformation, the complete rebuilding after a painful experience with betrayal. And, as you heard, she's one of our certified PBT support group hosts. So, if you're on Long Island, I'm going to have her information in the show notes over at pbtinstitute.com/podcast so you can be part of her group if it's a fit for you. So here's my biggest takeaway. Put yourself back on the list. It's not selfish, it's self-preservation, and it makes you a better mom, partner, friend, worker, etc. And here's a gift from me. Head over to pbtinstitute.com to receive my gift, How Your Biggest Crisis Reveals Your Greatest Gift. And let us support you. Go to Facebook and join our group, Women Hacking Betrayal, where we give information, tools, and support to help you move forward and heal once and for all. Can't wait to be with you next time. And here's to your breakthrough.